Welcome to our next guest expert session with Gemma Price from In Tune Nutrition. I'm Michelle, the unshakable mama, helping mums, frazzled working mums, take back control of your time, your energy, your finances, and ultimately your destiny. And now I wish to introduce you to Gemma, who's kindly agreed to come and talk to us about creating mindful sleep routines and habits, which is absolutely perfect for this time of year, when the seasons are changing, it's getting darker, all of the little colds and bugs and things are coming out. So Gemma, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself in a bit more detail?
Yes,
Let us know what you do and why.
yeah, of course. So thank you very much for inviting me, Michelle. So I am a nutritional therapist. I focus on immune and digestive health, and I'm also a tension and trauma release exercise practitioner. So I work a lot with adults who feel that they're reacting to things in ways that aren't very supportive for them. So that might be food reactivity or sort of allergies to environmental things or sensitivities to environmental factors like mold, for example. They might have autoimmunity, so they're acting inappropriately to their own body, or they might just be struggling with stress and finding that they're very reactive around other people. Or indeed, they might be underreacting. So, you're talking about the flu and the bugs and things like that. So if people feel like they're getting loads of coughs and colds and they can't shake them off, and their immune system maybe isn't quite as robust as it might be. So I look at what's underlying all those that sort of imbalances, and then support people through food, through lifestyle factors, through supplements, maybe through embodiment practices to help calm their nervous system, and then also through behavioural change as well. So so that they can respond a little bit more appropriately.
Great. And sleep being something that's very appropriate for the lifestyle and behavioral changes, setting those boundaries around sleep routine. So what is the importance of creating boundaries around sleep routine and creating like new habits around your sleeping patterns?
Yeah, so sleep's really, really fundamental for health. It's generally one of those sort of foundations that I will address with most clients if it's, not in a good place when they come to me. Sleep isn't a passive thing. It's when we are sort of resting, obviously, but also repairing all our tissues. So things like our gut lining, our mucous membranes, all those barriers, that need replacing on a regular basis. And it also helps from the immune perspective in that we weed out immune cells overnight, which are kind of potentially going to target our own tissues. So from that sort of autoimmunity perspective, that's really important. We know as well that our immune system functions in this kind of daily rhythm. So you want to be living in tune with the day-night cycle, and our immune system is doing the same thing. So it is more active generally during the day, where your body, traditionally, evolutionary, we would have been more likely to come across sources of infection through eating, through meeting people, and so on. So, we've got more kind of patrolling immune cells during the day, and fewer at night. So if you're not living in tune with that day-night cycle, so we know that, people who are doing shift work, for example, or, if you've traveled overseas, or if you've even got that social jet lag, where you're staying up super late at the weekends, all of that is going to kind of contribute to risk of getting poorly.
Yeah.
And then, from a sort of more generic point of view, not necessarily focused on the immune system, we know that if you don't sleep well, you're more likely to make poorer food choices the next day. You're going to reach for those hyper palatable foods, those high fat, high carbohydrate foods to give you a energy boost really quickly. You're probably more likely to be dosing up on coffee as well to keep you going, and it affects our appetite. So it affects our sort of all those hormones around appetite. So you'll actually have less leptin, which is the hormone that says that you're full, and increases in ghrelin, which is the hormone that says you're hungry. Sorry, so you're also more likely to eat a little bit more.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't know that, actually. That's really fascinating.
Yeah. So, you know, if you are sort of making those choices and you're not sleeping well, actually sorting out your sleep could really benefit you in terms of those choices.
Yeah, like holistically, isn't it? Like a complete holistic overview, really, by getting a good sleep.
Yeah, and we know as well, you know, don't we, as mums, you know, it's going to affect your emotions and your moods if you're not sleeping. We know you're gonna have more of that kind of negative affect, as it were. So you're more likely to be snappy with the kids. Say you're more likely to catastrophize things. You know, so from everybody's sort of well-being perspective, if we've slept, it's going to be better for them as well.
Absolutely. I think you've kind of just answered my next question, actually, really. Is like, how did this mindful habit, how has it benefited you and your family? So I can definitely resonate with the being snappy if I'm tired thing. The thing is noticing those patterns. And when you become aware of them, that's when you can really notice, like, okay, well, what's making a difference? If I go to bed at 10 o'clock every night for a week, and then I'm up until midnight for a night, and I'm snappy the next day, noting those patterns. So from your point of view, from a personal point of view, what patterns have you noticed? What kind of behaviors and things and benefits have you received from having a good sleep routine?
So for me, sleep was always quite a big issue when my kids were small. So my second child, for example, didn't really sleep to start with. She was very much one that woke every 45 minutes with her sleep cycle and refused any kind of comforters, and I was the comforter. So, you know, you're like, oh, perfect. So in order just to function, I had to try and support sleep so that when I did get the chance to sleep, I could just fall asleep and get into deep sleep quite quick. So I must say things like, when you made that decision, you're like, actually, I'm going to prioritize sleep here. And this is nothing to do with nutritional habits, but it was just like, we got floor beds completely revolutionized my life. I could sleep in her room and she could then sleep and I was nearby. Or, you know, as they got older and they had nights where they, you know, needed more support, you could just go, right, okay, cool, that's fine, just sleep on the floor in our room, and everybody slept. And, you know, that was the priority.
Why didn't I think of that?
Oh my goodness, it was amazing. So I think from the point of view, and also then she went on to develop various autoimmune conditions, which meant I had to get up quite regularly to check her during the night anyway. So from recently, there's been sort of tech coming to our lives that's helped a lot from that point of view. And I must say, you know, actually being able to get a full night's sleep has made a huge difference in my ability to just get on with, you know, you're talking about, can we do things to move towards our goals and all of this sort of thing? And actually, it's made a massive difference being able to sleep through the night in terms of my ability to focus and get things done. So,
and your headspace, presumably, and like not just having less clutter and less chaos in your head, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
That nervous system.
Cotton wool. So
it's so important. Like sleep, I think we've got this saying, you know, or you can sleep when you die, when you're dead, kind of thing. Like, you don't need to sleep. It's absolute rubbish. It's just we absolutely need to sleep in order to live the best lives we can. To, like you've already highlighted, to renew everything, the cells and stuff. So important.
Yeah, definitely. I think rest and sleep generally are very underrated. We're very doing focused society.
Yes.
And it takes mindfulness really to kind of go, actually, maybe this isn't benefiting me.
Yeah. I mean, in my experience, the having a really good sleep routine is instant nervous system regulation and that calming and everything. Yeah, but that said, because we were laughing, weren't we, before we hit record, that we're not angels at this sleep routine. Like, we don't always get it right. Like, obviously, like, we stay up later some nights, and I've set the intention this week inside my program, Unshakable Mama, to be in bed by 10 o'clock every night.
Mm-hmm.
Already last night, I was in bed at like 10:30, and I feel tired again today. But it's just, I'm aware of that now, and I can improve on that, this evening and the rest of the week. So
Exactly. And also it's giving, I think, thing is, once you recognize it, like you were saying, you can at least and then you notice that you're being snappy, say, you can at least think, oh, actually I might attribute that to something in me, as opposed to blaming someone else, and that also helps.
Or it's not actually my kids playing up, or
Yeah.
being naughty or whatever. It's actually me being intolerant and impatient because I haven't had enough sleep, which is actually a hard pill to swallow. It's like looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing the worst bits of you. But actually, once you realize that, and you know then how you can become a better version of yourself, it's magic. It's worth that initial look and all the the negative points.
Exactly.
Okay, so what challenges would you say busy working mums, have with sleep routines, healthy sleep routines?
Yeah, I think there are quite a few challenges.
I
One,
think so,
in
yeah.
that, you are a mum and you are looking after people who might wake up. So, those things aren't in your control, let's be honest. You've also got this, especially as your kids start to get a little bit older and their bedtime start to push a little bit later, and you're still desperate to carve out that time for you, then there's that going on, isn't there? Of like, well, actually, I don't want to go to bed yet because I don't feel I've had my any time just for me or with me and my partner. And then, we'll go on to talk about like in a bit, but there is that sort of thinking, or trying to fit everything in, being busy right up until the last minute, and then expecting to go from being super busy to being asleep. That's also going to be tricky.
Definitely.
And if that being busy involves kind of screens and what have you, then you add it as another layer of disruption to that ability to sleep.
Yeah, and definitely, like with the change in the seasons, I'm struggling with the darker mornings already. And being able to actually get up in the mornings, and actually moving to Scotland's been an interesting one for me. With, we said about the light, we can talk about that in a minute, but because we get about an hour and 45 minutes midsummer of more daylight than we do down in Dorset, where I was living until last September. And then the reverse in the winter, and that has really thrown my body clock. So I've learned this last year to kind of go with it a bit. So when I'm up at like 4:30 or 5 in the mornings because the cat's woken up or the kids have woken up because it's so light, just try and live with my natural rhythms, because it's my new natural, it's my new normal.
Yes,
so,
definitely. And that, need to hunker down in the winter, that is real.
That is real, isn't it? Yeah. And it's like I always look at nature as my guide. Like in the autumn, she's shedding her leaves and she's kind of winding down, ready for a nice long deep sleep. In the winter, and actually our days and our own seasons and thing, I feel like we could all use that as a guide.
Yeah, we could but we fight against it, and that doesn't really help our biology, let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. So Gemma, you've got some sleep habits, some pillars for us to go by, to share with us. Would you like to share them now?
Yes, of course. So I think, I'm going to talk a little bit as well about kind of how this ties in with immunity, given we're in coming into this season. But these sort of sleep habits, really, I think the main idea to take home is thinking about, well, what do you do with your kids when you're trying to get them ready for bed and you want them to sleep well? We tend to put in place this bedtime routine. They probably have a set bedtime. We're probably asking that they come off screens a certain amount of time before they go to bed. We tend to, you know, dim the lights, maybe settle down with them, read a story, you know, maybe give them a cuddle, give them that sense of safety before bedtime, give them an opportunity to offload. I know as the kids get older, you know, and they don't really want to go to sleep, they always choose that time, don't they? You know, oh, and just another thing happened, and this is really important that I tell you this now, you know, but actually let's think of it the other way around, that if they are offloading some of those stresses, that means that they can then forget about them and go to sleep, hopefully. So, you know, we put in place this bedtime routine to give them the best opportunity to sleep. And really, we need to do a little bit of self-parenting when it comes to this if we want to be sleeping better. And so the first thing is thinking about, well, what is your bedtime? When are you going to bed? And obviously you're talking about this already in your membership this week. But so there's a chap called Sheldon Cohen who did quite a lot of studies around stress and sleep and immunity. He did an experiment where he was basically giving people flu virus and then looking at who fared worse than who. And when he sort of looked at that in conjunction with people's length of time that they were sleeping, for those that slept less than 7 hours, they were about 3 times more likely to get the symptoms of a cold than those that slept more than 8 hours. So ultimately, when we're coming kind of headed into this season, really it's ideal if we can sleep more than 8 hours. Now, I appreciate that everybody's different. Everybody's got different sort of, you know, some people are a night owl, or they feel they're a night owl and they have to go to bed really late. But bringing that bedtime, you know, a little bit earlier, little by little, to extend that amount of time that you're giving yourself to sleep is, well, the fundamental thing really to do. The first thing, actually give yourself that opportunity.
Brilliant.
So that would be number one. And then number two, it's coming back to that light environment. So light is really important for setting these daily rhythms, and I've spoken about how that can kind of affect our immune cells already. But if we think about the hormone involved in supporting sleep, there's melatonin, that kind of gently rises later in the evening and peaks, you know, when you're going to sleep. And we know that melatonin is really destroyed by blue light. Blue light gives you that, you know, that's what helps you wake up, the blue light that you're getting from the sun. So if you're exposed to blue light later on, that's going to make you feel more wakeful, and you're going to get rid of that sleep hormone, which is helping you sleep. So, you know, from that point of view, thinking about, ultimately it's thinking about screens really, because and also thinking about your overhead lights. So if you can dim your lights, that's going to make a big difference. If you can kind of come off screens at least half an hour before you go to bed, and preferably before, and then, you know, the main thing is, in the middle of the night, if you do wake up, don't go on your phone, and try not to turn on the overhead lights. So if you are somebody that needs to get up quite a lot to check their kids, or if you're somebody that, you know, is often having to get up to go to the toilet, if you can do that with the lights off, or maybe, you know, one of the things that worked for us is I got a head torch with kind of a red light instead, and that made a big difference. So really it just meant that then, well, not only are you not waking the kids up so much because they've got the red light, so they're more likely to fall back to sleep, you yourself can then just get back into bed and are much more likely to fall back to sleep. So
yeah, that's really good. Yeah, we've just got like a little tiny salt lamp on that we keep on in our hallway, so that lights the way for the boys if they need to get up in the night. But one of the things that's really helped me, talking about blue light, is making sure that my bedroom is banished. Not my bedroom, my phone is banished from the bedroom at night time. So I mean, the original reason was to avoid that morning scroll and to help me actually get out of bed in the first place. But you're right, like lying in bed at night as you're drifting off to sleep, or, you know, if you wake in the night looking at your phone to try and help you get back to sleep, it doesn't work, does it? It doesn't really work, and it just stimulates the brain too much. And so that's one of the phone usage boundaries I have in play, which we've actually covered for watching this now. who've been around or not been around in this Facebook community, we did phone detoxing a few weeks ago as one of our mindful habits. So that was all around creating the boundaries around your phone usage. So for example, for me, it was a refusal to, well, not a refusal, but I didn't use my phone from when I woke up till the boys were in school, after they left to school, and then from when they got home from school till after dinner.
Amazing.
And it created me so much more time in my day.
Oh my goodness, it's so much more time. I know when it pops up and tells you how much you've been using it, you're like, oh, that's almost a whole day.
I know, it's quite frightening, to be honest.
It is.
Yeah, so yeah, the blue.
That's really interesting. So on the flip side of that, in terms of the light environment, the other side is to try and get out and get some sunlight in the morning, you know, to set that rhythm in the first place. So, you know, it's those two factors can help.
Watch the sunrise. I watch the
sunrise. Well, you can now, can't you? If it's getting later and later.
Yeah. It's I think it was about 7:30 this morning. It rose. It was stunning colours. Yeah, amazing. That's
so then going on to the third thing, it's that sort of notion of creating safety or creating some sort of wind down routine for yourself that you can have before you go to bed. So giving yourself a little bit of space between rushing around and trying to go to sleep, you know, because it's just not going to work otherwise. So again, if we go back and sort of talk about the hormones, we know that cortisol, which is your stress hormone, it really peaks early in the morning in order to wake you up and get you going, and then it sort of tends to dip. Now, obviously, you're going to have little rises and falls as and when stressful things occur, but ideally, you want to have that rise in the morning and the dip later on, because it sort of works in opposition with the melatonin. And so so from that point of view, trying to avoid stressful things before you go to bed, like watching horror movies. I mean, I can't do that anyway for my nervous system. Just can't deal with it. But you know, that kind of thing, and arguments, and or if those things have happened, or if you are ruminating, can you try and get rid of those thoughts, like doing some sort of journaling or offloading, or doing something to calm your nervous system?
Yeah.
So I was going to run through one of the things that I use with some of my clients who do the nervous system work with, who I notice are very much in that sort of sympathetic activation. So that would be your sort of fight and flight response, or really just even being on the go all the time. You know, these clients might say to me, oh, I'm not stressed at all, but because of the speed of their talking and they're doing gazillions of things all at the same time, you're like, well, yeah, but you are still in sympathetic activation. And so I use this practice with them, which is a short practice to kind of get into your body and start to slow down. And I just wonder, maybe that might be helpful for some of your...
Yeah, please show us. That would be amazing.
Okay.
And I resonate with what you said about the TV and stuff, because I've noticed a pattern. If I'm watching something stressful, like, I don't know, we were watching something to do with the Romans and it was all like fighting and things, I can't sleep so well. Or if I'm watching something where I'm really into it and I just can't wait for the next episode, I can't get to sleep. So I've had to actually start saying to my husband, I can't watch that tonight, I'm too tired. I need the sleep.
Yeah, so, exactly.
But again, it's noticing those patterns.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this exercise. I have my cat sat on my lap.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think
she can join.
It's very gentle. Right, I'm going to just stand up. I'll show my... get back here. I don't think you'll be able to see me fully. That 1 minute. I'll leave that. Right, so although you can't see me fully, all this exercise is a really gentle practice to ground through your feet. So if you stand with your feet hip width apart and your knees are softly bent, and first of all, let's take a couple of slow breaths and really feel the ground underneath your feet. And then I'd invite you to gently shift your weight to the right. And then gently shift your weight to the left. So all you're doing is a really small movement just to notice the change in that weight through your foot. So you might notice the change in pressure underneath your feet. Slowly moving from side to side. You can then notice maybe how your knees are moving in space. You're moving from side to side. And how your hips move. And awareness to your shoulders. Top of your head. And coming back to a position where you're feeling like you're equally weighted through both feet. And again, just taking a moment to feel that weight through your feet. Maybe notice the rise and fall of your breath. And then that's it. And carry on. I think.
Oh, I feel so peaceful and so relaxed and like I'm ready for bed. Oh, that's lovely. I didn't know that exercise. So thanks so much for sharing. It's beautiful.
I think it really helps to just slow you down. And if you are somebody that tends to, because I can see now already, I can notice I'm talking slower. I think you're talking slower, which just more settled. It's if you are somebody that tends to race around a lot, it might help for you to do it in front of the mirror, because then you can see how fast you're going and deliberately see if you can slow down. And it might feel uncomfortable, I'll be honest with you, to start with, if you are a racer.
Yeah,
but the more you can slow down, it just gives you that opportunity in your body to realize how it feels to be slower. And yeah, it's just a transition.
It's a practice, isn't it? Again, it's like everything's a practice. And that, I mean, I can see myself maybe doing that while I'm cleaning my teeth, or I was actually thinking of practicing that with my boys later, because one of them keeps saying he struggles to get to sleep at the moment. And or even, when you've got up off the sofa after watching something on TV, just like you've turned the telly off, as you get up to walk to the bathroom or to your bedroom, you could just practice then, or anywhere really, couldn't you? That's the thing, it's so simple.
Yeah, it's just nice to get into your body. And the same, if you wake at night, not necessarily to stand up, but it's coming out of your head and into your body is a good, so it's generally one of those practices, because that's where it tends to be super busy and it's stopping us sleeping.
I love that. I recently shared with my ladies about because I realized that I was walking really fast back from dropping the boys at the school bus. And I was feeling quite stressed, but I'm very aware of how I feel. As mindfulness, isn't it? And I deliberately slowed myself down and instantly relaxed. And I was like, you slow down. If you're feeling stressed today, just slow all your movements down, your walk, the way you talk, the way, just everything. And that practice is really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's just another great example of slowing down.
It's a pleasure. Oh yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it, how actually what's happening in the body can affect what's happening in your brain. So
I think quite often we feel stressed. We don't know that we feel stressed about things. Like, a lot of things are hidden stress. So for example, you've got, I don't know, say something simple like you've got a busy evening of picking the boys up from school. I'm just thinking back here, picking the boys up from school, getting them an early dinner in order to get them back out to a school disco, for example.
Yeah.
But then you've also got to get out to work, because I was massaging, and like things like that. Like, although it was just something I was doing, but as soon as that day was done, I was just like, oh. And we carry a lot of hidden stress, like paperwork, for example, that knowing that you have to sort your pension out. But and just not doing it, and then as soon as you finally get around to doing it, like a year or 2 or 3 later in my case, the stress just fell off me. So we're carrying so much stress that's preventing us from sleeping and from
definitely
soothing and everything. So yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
And so it was the 3 pillars really was about bedtime routine and self-parenting.
So the bedtime, I would say the bedtime, thinking about the light environment, light in the morning and not so much at night. And then thinking about this kind of trying to create some sort of transition period where you feel safe, where you're not really, so that's my 3.
Love it.
3 kind of pillars.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. And do you have any last words of wisdom for our listeners today?
Well, I would just say, if you are struggling with sleep, then, if you try these things and it's still a problem, it's a matter of delving a little bit deeper and think, well, why am I still having issues? Is it that maybe I'm snoring, or there's even that possibility of sort of sleep apnea where you're stopping breathing at night and you keep waking yourself up, and you're likely to feel that as being tired in the morning despite thinking you slept a lot. Is it that you're waking a lot in the night, and that could be linked with having to go to the toilet, and then you might think, okay, actually that might be to do with sort of cellular hydration. You might need to use electrolytes, say, to support that. Or is it because I'm not eating quite so well and my blood sugar's fluctuating and that's waking me up? Or is it that I'm overthinking? Or is it that, maybe I've got night sweats or something, if you were headed into sort of perimenopause, menopause, and do I need to work on my hormones? There's lots of things. There's loads of things that could be contributing to poor sleep, but there's also loads of things you can do to support all of those. So it's, I would reach out to somebody if you're struggling to figure it out on your own, because there are plenty of people out there, plenty of nutritional therapists, for example, out there who would be able to support you with those things. And because we all have to work with sleep because it's so fundamental.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for me as well, it's me personally looking at what's going on in my actual days as well, like how busy I am and noticing patterns on certain days of the week. So for example, am I too busy on a Tuesday, and that's preventing me from sleeping at night because my head's just working overtime, or even maybe on a Monday night worrying about what's going to be happening on the next day. So looking at your kind of like your daily routine as well, I think from a mindfulness and like mindset point of view, I think that's really helpful, noticing those patterns for sure. So amazing. Well, thank you so much, Gemma, again. I'm going to put your contact details, so if anyone does want to reach out to Gemma, absolute powerhouse, knowledgeable, I can tell. It's thank you so much. I've learned loads. One of my things I looked into years ago was nutritional therapy, and I didn't go down that route, but some days I wish I did. So it's lovely to talk to somebody who knows their stuff. So yes, I'm going to put your contact details in the show notes. So do reach out to Gemma if you need any further support nutritionally or with the sleep routines. Yeah, anything else at all you want to share about your work that you're doing at the moment, or
no, it's fine. Hopefully I can talk to you again about some of the other things that I do, because I think there's a lot that could be supportive for you guys.
Multi-passionates, aren't we, us therapists? So much to us, so many strings to our bow. Amazing. Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
No, that's a pleasure. All right, take care.